Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into what could be NVIDIA's next secret weapon in the world of AI. It's a really fascinating story, actually. It involves a hidden bottleneck that's slowing everything down, two completely different kinds of computer memory, and a clever plan that could honestly reshape the entire chip industry.
So you got to ask yourself, right? Why would NVIDIA, the undisputed king of AI hardware, their GPUs are powering this entire revolution. Why would they suddenly bet on a totally different kind of chip? Well, a recent, very quiet partnership they made hints at a radical shift in their whole strategy. It looks like they're moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach to something way more specialized.
And that big shift, it revolves around this company right here, Groq. And no, don't get that confused with Elon Musk's Groq AI. This is Groq, spelled G-R-O-Q. And they designed this really unique chip called an LPU, which stands for Language Processing Unit. And NVIDIA just signed a deal to use their tech. So the big question is, why? To really get why NVIDIA is so interested in these LPUs from Groq, we first have to pull back the curtain on a hidden bottleneck in how AI models actually come up with their answers. You see, this process, which is called inference, it isn't just one single step. It's more like a two-act play. It's this two-step dance. So the first stage is called prefill. This is where the AI takes your entire prompt, all the text, all the context you give it, and just processes it in one huge parallel burst. You can think of it like speed reading an entire library all at once. But then comes stage 2, decode. This is where the AI generates its answer one word or token at a time sequentially. This is way more like giving a speech, carefully choosing what the very next word should be. And right there, that's the problem. That second step, the decode stage, is where traditional GPUs just hit a brick wall. See, they are absolute monsters at that massive parallel processing needed for prefill, but the slow, one-word-at-a-time nature of decode, it creates a massive latency problem. It forces the GPU into this constant, slow back and forth for every single token it generates. And the inefficiency this causes is it's staggering. Because the GPU has to wait for each word to be generated before it can even start on the next one, it ends up just sitting there, idle, for huge chunks of time. This leads to a utilization rate of only 30 to 40%. Just think about that. You have this incredibly powerful, super expensive piece of hardware that's only actually working about a third of the time when it's doing inference. So what in the world is causing this bottleneck? Well, the root of the problem is actually in the type of memory that GPUs are built around. And this brings us to a tale of two very, very different technologies, HBM and SRAM. Okay, so on one side, you've got HBM, that's high bandwidth memory. It's the standard for GPUs because it offers just a massive amount of capacity. But it's a separate chip, so it's physically a little ways away from the processor. Then, on the other side, you have SRAM, or static RAM. Now, it has way less capacity, but, and this is key, it's built directly onto the processor die itself, which makes it unbelievably fast. This chart here really lays out the trade-offs perfectly. Just look at the capacity. A high-end NVIDIA GPU has about 141 gigabytes of HBM. A Groq LPU, it has just 230 megabytes of SRAM. That is over 600 times less space. But here's the kicker, the whole point. Because that SRAM is on chip, its bandwidth is 10 times higher, and its latency is basically zero. So here's the crucial point. NVIDIA's plan isn't to replace one with the other. You can't run a huge AI model on just 230 megabytes of memory. That's impossible. Instead, the strategy is to combine them into a single, really elegant solution, where each type of technology handles the exact task it was born to do. And the proposed solution is called a hybrid compute tray. The idea is actually pretty simple. Let each chip play to its strengths. The traditional GPU, with its massive HBM capacity, handles all the heavy lifting of the prefill stage. Then, it just hands off the job to the Groq LPU, which uses its ultra-fast on-chip SRAM to just zip through that latency-sensitive decode stage, spitting out tokens at incredible speed. And this is an absolutely genius move from a business perspective. By structuring it this way, NVIDIA solves the critical latency problem without forcing its massive community of developers to abandon CUDA. That's the powerful and familiar software platform they've all spent years and years mastering. So this is an upgrade, not a replacement. But this strategy does way more than just make NVIDIA's hardware better. It has the potential to send these huge ripple effects across the entire semiconductor manufacturing landscape. And it's all thanks to a pretty simple business principle. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So why does this matter so much? Well, it's all about reducing supply chain risk. In high-stakes manufacturing like this, being dependent on a single company for a critical component, that is a massive liability. And that's exactly why companies always want what's called a second source supplier. Okay, so let's connect the dots. Right now, NVIDIA is heavily, and I mean heavily, reliant on one manufacturer, TSMC, for its cutting-edge GPUs. But who makes Groq's LPUs? Samsung Foundry. So by integrating Groq's tech, NVIDIA doesn't just get a faster chip, it gets a strategic pathway to use Samsung as a major supplier. That reduces its critical dependence on TSMC and gives it a huge amount of leverage in the process. All of this leaves us with a final and pretty provocative thought. For years, the big race in AI was to build a single, all-powerful chip that could do everything. But NVIDIA's move here suggests a whole new era is dawning, an era of specialization, where the future of AI isn't powered by one lone superhero chip, but by a whole team of specialists, each one perfectly designed for its part of the job.